All right, let's get right into this. For a long time, we've all essentially treated AI like a basic software subscription, right? You pay a flat fee, you get a massively powerful chatbot, and your whole team uses it for literally everything. Well, that era, it's officially over. With the launch of OpenAI's GPT 5.6, we've seen a fundamental shift in both the economics and the geopolitical regulation of enterprise AI. We are no longer dealing with simple SaaS apps. We are navigating governed dual-use infrastructure. And if you're a business or IT leader, understanding this shift is absolutely crucial because it completely changes how we build, buy, and deploy AI starting today. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the new AI paradigm. Decode the new Sol, Terra, and Luna models. Look at the government access gate and the Anthropic precedent. Talk about designing tiered AI workflows, and wrap up with your day one action plan.
Okay, part 1. The new AI paradigm. Moving beyond monolithic bots.
Like I said, AI is no longer a monolithic app you just log into. In the past, we relied heavily on these single, do-everything models. We'd use the smartest, most incredibly expensive model to draft a complex strategic business plan, but then we'd also use that exact same model to sort basic inbound emails. It was wildly inefficient. Honestly, it's like using a supercomputer as a paperweight. But this new GPT 5.6 paradigm introduces a durable, multi-tier capability system. And this forces a complete top-down redesign of how enterprises allocate their computing resources. You don't just blindly send a prompt anymore, you have to route a task to the most economically sensible layer of intelligence. Which brings us to section 2, decoding Sol, Terra, and Luna, the cognitive stack. So GPT 5.6 isn't just one model, it's actually a family of 3. At the top, you have Sol. This is your absolute powerhouse, your flagship for frontier reasoning, heavy coding, and running complex subagents. But it's pricey, $5 per million input tokens and $30 for output. Then you have Terra. Think of Terra as the workhorse. This is where your enterprise will practically live. It delivers the exact same performance as the older GPT 5.5, but at a 50% discount, so $2.50 in and $15 out. Finally, you've got Luna. Luna is your sprinter. It's built for high-volume, low-latency tasks at just $1 in and $6 out. When you zoom out and look at this as a cognitive stack, the whole strategy really clicks into place. It's essentially a giant pyramid. By visualizing it this way, IT and business leaders can dynamically route tasks. You keep your heavy, mission-critical logic right at the top with Sol. You push your standard daily operations down to Terra, and then you funnel all that high-volume, simple data sorting down to Luna at the base. Implementing this structure is exactly how you're going to maximize ROI across your entire organization.
Section 3. The government access gate. Frontier AI is now officially treated as dual-use infrastructure under federal oversight.
Now, you might be wondering who actually gets to use GPT 5.6 right now. Despite the massive launch and all those splashy headlines we saw, the answer is zero. Zero public users. As of today, you simply cannot access Sol, Terra, or Luna on ChatGPT, and there isn't even a waitlist to apply for.
The reality of the situation is this exact number right here, 20. Only about 20 vetted organizations, individually approved by the White House, mind you, currently have access, and it's via a tightly monitored API loop. Why? Because under OpenAI's internal framework, GPT 5.6 actually scored a high capability rating in cybersecurity. It is so incredibly good at finding vulnerabilities that the government literally had to step in and lock it down.
And this didn't just happen out of nowhere. The escalation was incredibly rapid. Back on June 2nd, an executive order set the stage. Then, by June 26th, we saw the restricted launch of GPT 5.6. The Office of the National Cyber Director and the Office of Science and Technology Policy spearheaded this whole thing, basically asking OpenAI to stagger the release while the government scrambles to meet an August 1st deadline to create a formal, repeatable review framework. Now, OpenAI has pushed back on this a bit. They explicitly stated on their system card that they, quote, don't believe this kind of government access process should become the long-term default, end quote. But the impact for you as a business leader is profound. This government gating creates sudden, massive platform and access risk. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that commercial availability for future, highly capable models simply cannot be guaranteed just because a tech company announces them on stage.
Moving to Section 4, the Anthropic precedent. This is a massive geopolitical shift.
Because look, this unprecedented federal intervention, it's not an isolated incident. It's actually becoming an established pattern across the entire AI industry. Just weeks prior to the GPT 5.6 launch, the Commerce Department forced Anthropic to completely deactivate its Claude Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models globally over national security concerns. Then, literally on the exact same day OpenAI launched its restricted preview, Anthropic was granted a highly restrictive restoration of access for roughly 100 select entities, all under heavily negotiated safety measures.
The undeniable takeaway here is that AI model access is now a geopolitical negotiation, full stop. We have U.S. Commerce Department directives actively shaping major software launches. We even have Austria lobbying to host EU models just to bypass U.S. jurisdiction altogether. Frontier models are being explicitly treated as export-sensitive assets. And for you, this means international enterprises must actively plan for sudden, policy-driven disruptions in their AI software supply chains. All right, Section 5, Designing Tiered AI Workflows, the Era of Distributed Engineering.
So basic prompt engineering, yeah, that's officially dead. It has been entirely replaced by distributed systems engineering. You just can't hard-code one single model for an entire application anymore. Developers have to architect applications with model abstraction, built-in fallback behaviors, and dynamic routing to handle varying service levels and these entirely new policy constraints. Think about it. If Seoul gets gated by regulators tomorrow, your application needs to gracefully fall back to Terra or Luna without breaking a sweat.
Let's break down a really practical workflow for a marketing team to show you what I mean. Step 1. Your inbound social mentions hit the cheap, fast Luna model for basic intent sorting. Step 2. Those signals escalate up to Terra, which autonomously drafts targeted brand-safe copy blocks using GPT 5.5 level intelligence, but at half the cost. Step 3. You reserve that expensive, deep reasoning soul model solely for overarching strategic analytics and sub-agent deployment, like mapping out a highly complex, multi-touch customer journey. And this exact same logic applies to heavy enterprise document processing. When you're feeding massive 1.5 million token RFPs into a system, you absolutely do not want erratic API bills. By utilizing Terra as your central hub and combining that with explicit prompt caching protocols, which give you a fixed 30-minute cache lifetime, you completely stabilize your costs while still allowing for continuous autonomous compliance checks. This is exactly how you engineer for the new reality. Which brings us to our final section, your Day 1 action plan, preparing for general availability. General availability for these models is expected somewhere between mid-July and August, and you need to execute on these exact technical directives today to secure your operational continuity. Step 1. Alias your code. Stop hard-coding model references immediately. Isolate them into a single configuration variable so that the second Terra is broadly available, your team can change one single line of code and instantly cut your API bills in half. Step 2. Map your current workflows into those cognitive tiers we just discussed. Step 3. Establish baselines right now using GPT 5.5 so you can confidently prove the ROI to leadership on day 1. But hey, it's not just a technical challenge. It's heavily about governance. You need explicit, acceptable use rules for any cyber testing inside your organization. You must establish those fallback models for any agentic workflows. And crucially, listen to this one. Audit for shadow AI. Because official access to these frontier models is currently delayed and gated, employees are inherently going to look for unofficial workarounds. They'll use completely dubious third-party wrappers, and that poses a massive critical security risk to your data. The bottom line here is undeniable. Treating AI as a governed dependency, rather than just simple, unrestricted software, is quite literally the only way to shield your organization from catastrophic platform risk in 2026 and beyond. You have to alias your workflows and strategically prepare your intelligence tiers today. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is your organization truly ready to manage AI not just as a handy productivity tool, but as a governed geopolitical asset? It's a completely new world out there, and the organizations that adapt to this infrastructure mindset first are for sure going to be the ones that win. Thanks for joining me, and I hope this helps you build a much more resilient AI strategy moving forward.